Welcome into the Bison Postgame Show with the Forum's Jeff Kolpack and Mike McFeely. I'm Sam Goetzinger. North Dakota State gets the marker back, 13-9 the final here inside of the Fargo Dome. What an exciting game this was. I want to get both of your guys' thoughts. Jeff, what did you think of this one?
Meat grinder. That's the word we were talking about. The way NDSU ran the ball with its running backs was just like the other 5 losses. There wasn't much there. Marty Brown had 33 yards. Last year, Tamarick Williams had like 33 yards. But the Bison defense obviously did its job today, and they gave Cam Miller a chance, And so you say there's a chance at the end. They're at your 8. The Bison are at their 8-yard line, 7 minutes left, and you're thinking the odds of them going the length of the field aren't good the way things were going, and that's exactly what he did.
Cam Miller's moment, baby. I mean, he's been waiting 5 years for this game, and he got it today, got his chance, and he took advantage of it and cemented his legacy further at North Dakota State with everything Cam has done. But, I can't imagine how tired the players are. I can't imagine how tired the 18,807 people are, because I'm exhausted from watching the game. I mean, what an absolute instant classic. I mean, it was loud in here. It was hot in here. The fans were juiced. Nobody left. The game, as Jeff said, was an absolute meat grinder. I mean, this is like 2012 all over again. This was Georgia Southern in 2012. It's what I think we've all been waiting for to be at Bison games again. You see so many 52-7 Tennessee State games where there's 5,000 people here at the end of the game. There was 18,807 people here at the end of the game, and they were into it. Mm-hmm. And when Rajon Nelson caught the touchdown pass right over here, I thought the old bolts up in the roof were going to come loose and start spraying rust down on the field. They have to have another bond vote to have a new roof put on. What a classic game. And what a victory for North Dakota State. It's been a long time coming. And Tim Paulsek, when he ran out of the tunnel here and he punched the air like 3 times and was screaming coming out of the tunnel. And so I think a little bit of Paulsek emotion carried the Bison. What a great game. What a fun game. What a fun college football game.
And what a throw that was for the game-winning touchdown. That was Carson Wentz to R.J. Urzendowski-esque, if you will. And he just put it exactly where it needed to be. And it was a great play by both players, Miller with a throw. And the call, too, because we asked Tim Paulsek after the game if you're going to set up for a field goal or what was the thinking in that. And he said if they had the coverage they were looking for, which they did, they were going to try to go for it. And he didn't want to leave Gronowski to drive for a field goal. He thought, he wanted to make them go the length of the field because Gronowski and South Dakota State are it doesn't take them a whole lot to get into field goal range.
All we've heard for the last 4 or 5 years is that Cam Miller can't beat South Dakota State. Cam Miller can't beat South Dakota State. Cam Miller can't beat South Dakota State. Mark Gronowski is the best quarterback in FCS. And actually last year he was the Walter Payton Award winner. And by the way, I think that Cam Miller has vaulted to the front again if he wasn't already there with this victory, with this drive. I think I said 7 for 7 on the final drive, Cam was. And that was the moment I think that he has been waiting for. We asked him about it in the post-game press conference, and he said, I've slumped against South Dakota State. They're good, and the Jacks are still good. They're maybe not quite what they were the last couple of years, but Cam really hasn't had that game against the Jackrabbits. And for the first half, perhaps he wasn't having that game. But, man, that last drive is now in Bison lore. It really is.
Yep. Positive note, Cam looked healthy. He was moving around a lot better than he did last week. Bad note, and one thing that's really noticeable after this game, a lot of injuries. What do we make about all the injuries?
Boy, Sam Young went out. Oscar Benson went out.
Cole
Payton went out.
Duffy didn't play.
Duffy did not play. Nick Kubitz did not play, although he sounds like he might return. Bison are getting thin, especially on defense. Tim Paulsek mentioned he might have to start taking some red shirts off guys and putting them out there for the last, 4 regular season games or whatever it is. But it's become an issue. Paulsek said if this was the NFL, we'd have 18 guys questionable for next week at Murray State. It's Murray State, so it's going to be okay probably for the 1 week. But, boy, then you got
Northern Iowa,
which, then you got Missouri State that's playing well.
Yep.
Then you got South Dakota down there. The Bison have put themselves in a position now to be number 1 seed for the playoffs. At the very least, if they win out, the number 2 seed, they would get all the games here. They need to get as healthy as they can, and it's going to be a challenge going forward.
Did you mention Cole Payton? That's another. That's another big one.
They were looking at his right shoulder after
Yep.
he carried, I think, with the ball one time, and he came off the field, hitching up his shoulder.
Right.
And they were looking at it.
Sounds like potentially something that may be serious. I guess we'll have to find out more.
Major
information.
shoulders, the way that
Major
House
shoulder
said
is
it.
what he
Well,
says.
that'd
We'll
be
have to
season
find out
ender then.
more.
Yep.
Yeah. What did you make of the injuries after tonight?
Well, I mean, it's a physical game, and they're going to get some guys back. Kubitz will come back. I think Duffy will come back probably next week.
Yep.
So, that'll help. The interior guys, they put Will Mostert at defensive end tonight for the first time this season.
Yep.
And so maybe to help with some depth there. I still think they'll be fine next week, and hopefully for their sake, they don't get any more injuries there at Murray.
We're talking a lot about Cam Miller in the offense, and that's going to be the story everybody's talking about. But how about that Bison defense?
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness gracious, they were down to about 6 guys, 6 healthy guys. They kept South Dakota State to 9 points.
Yeah, and
They kept them out of the end zone other than one play. They had one big play. The Jacks had the Chase Mason long 66-yard touchdown pass. Bison defense was outstanding.
Yeah,
I mean, that was a man's game out there.
This
and
was
they stood
a
up.
SDSU team that was hot coming in
Yes.
too. I mean, they were hot, and didn't see that tonight.
Well, what do we make of SDSU now? Are they everything that they were cracked
They're
up
going
to
to be
be?
just fine.
Yeah.
They're going to be just fine in FCS. It was a 4-point game in Fargo, and NDSU had to pull one out of the fire. So the Jacks, it's going to be the Jacks, the Bison, and Montana State at the end of the season.
And now they got to turn around and play the Coyotes.
Yes,
So,
and
I
I don't want to sell
Yeah.
the Coyotes
Yeah.
short because I mean that's a
Yeah.
huge game now for South Dakota State. Next week down in Brookings against the Coyotes, we're going to find out something there as well.
Right.
Coyotes picked up a win against Youngstown State this week. You guys have covered way more Dakota Marker games than I have. This was my first one. It was unlike anything I've ever seen. Is it in the Mount Rushmore for you guys? Where do you rank this one?
Among the Dakota Marker games, it's got to be up there.
Got to be top
I mean,
4.
It's got to be
sure.
just off the top of my
Some-
head.
Yep.
It was really good.
Yeah.
This was one hell of a football game. I've seen 1 million football games in my life, and I've seen way too many Bison games, as I said earlier, that have been 50-10 games. This was just a absolute meat grinder. I mean, just a great football game. Top 4 of the Dakota Marker games for sure.
Absolutely. You guys got any final thoughts on this one before we wrap it up?
No, it's getting late.
Yeah. We need to go home.
I think they still might be open over at Herd and Horns. So let's wrap this up.
All right. Well, that'll do it for Jeff Kolpack, Mike McFeely. I'm Sam Goetzinger. This has been the Bison Postgame Show.